I wanted to come back and make another video as an update to the previous video I made in regards to parrying. Before I make any guides or tips and tricks, I want to make sure I mostly understand what I'm talking about and can break it down in a way that makes sense for others. Everything I said in the first video is still true, but I'd like to expand further into a few things that might help tie everything together. As I previously said, all of this has the potential to change as the game progresses in development. I'm not the best with words, so things like this are challenging for me, but as always, I will try my best. Take a look at what's going on here. This is the passive parry system, aka auto parry or assisted parry. I'm not applying any mouse movement here. This is all Willy. The system resides 360 degrees close to your center mouse point, as you can see here. But if you stray too far, like this, the passive parry is no longer active. You can tell where the passive parry starts and stops by practicing for yourself. Take a close look at the way Willy is holding the sword when in passive parry and when not in passive parry. Practice in an empty arena. Get a feel for how far you're allowed to move your mouse before exiting passive parry. The biggest thing to understand when it comes to this system is you cannot fight it. You can only work with it. If you fight it, you will end up getting frustrated at what feels like a lack of control. But this is a conflicting mechanic in the Half Sword community, which I understand. But I think it might be necessary because Willy can move the sword in ways I can't with just a mouse controlling two axes, X and Y. While this mechanic exists, it does not make it possible to block everything, but you can try. The first step is to look at the bot's behavior. This behavior is very apparent when facing off against an opponent with a longsword, and it's something to note. Your rival, Willy, will not only telegraph their next attack depending on where their guard is, but they will also mimic your own guard. This can be valuable information when setting up for a parry or counter. This behavior can tell you where you need to be inside of the active parry zone. If you're not in the right place, Willy's gonna fuck it up. This is why I often refer to it as an assisted parry. You must assist Willy in finding a place that allows him to protect himself. Generally, if you're going to rely on the passive parry system, it's a good idea to place your guard in the same direction of the attack. But sometimes this doesn't put you in a good position to riposte, and it's something you'll have to play with in order to figure out for yourself. This is also why I'd recommend both active and passive parrying. An active parry can put you in a position to riposte, but if you're unable to find the passive parry zone again, you could get hit with a follow-up swing. I personally prefer to actively parry stabs and underhands because most of the time, even if they're blocked, there's very little options to follow up. But sometimes I'll actively parry overhands or horizontal strikes. It usually just depends on if I feel comfortable in a position relative to the enemy Willy. Something to add as well. If you're injured or low on stamina, the passive parry becomes much less useful and more of a burden, really, which only increases the need to learn active parrying alongside the passive parry system. The next part is something I'm still experimenting with, and I'd like you to experiment with as well. It's the combination of both forms of parry. It's simultaneously an attack and a parry. but it's something I'm still trying to figure out, and I'd rather not speak on it until I know more and can reliably reproduce it. So it'll have to wait for another video. If you have a clip of doing something similar, send me a message or tag me in the Half Sword official Discord. You can find a link to join in the description if you're not already. I'm going to try and continue to make videos and keep you guys updated on things I learn. But other than that, thank you for watching, and I hope it was helpful.
Let us sheathen our swords in honor.